and Luis Magaña from Stockton originally, and Juan Rodriguez from Los Angeles. And when by them, actually I asked them to come to talk about corn because they are organizing every year the Festival of Corn. I was organizing in the Bay Area in San Francisco, Luis Magaña in Stockton every year. Sergio Netzahualcoyotl now is organizing the Day of Corn. In September 29 is in Mexico, the National Day of Corn. And with Juan Rodriguez, we have been organizing every year in Los Angeles in MacArthur Park. So you all speak English, right? Okay, and you understand. Okay. Entonces, el compañero Juan Rodriguez couldn't make it, and I don't know about Luis Magaña, I didn't hear from him. But, so I invite Ann Lopez, who has been working for many years in Jalisco, Mexico, with corn growers, and she is very concerned about GMOs and all this stuff. And I also invite my friend, Maria Catalan. She was the first immigrant that was certified organic, and she lives in Hollister, and she has been working in a mass production of food. So maybe we can start with Juan, with Sergio Netzahualcoyotl, and he can talk about his experiences about corn, growing corn, and trying to do rescue in the U.S.
Great. You want me to start in English, Spanish? Or?
I think we can do it in English. Anyone needs the interpretation to Spanish? ¿Alguien necesita traducción al español? No, ¿verdad?
También hablo español.
No, let's do it in English, and I'm gonna translate.
All right, well, thank you, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. Like Miguel said, my name is Sergio Netzahualcoyotl. I'm from San Jose, and I'm a co-founder of what's called La Defensa del Maíz. It's the Defensa del Maíz in San Jose. Our work started about maybe 10 years ago, when it came together with the community, knowing that there was a danger happening with our sacred corn, with our seeds being genetically modified in a very bad way. So we took a stand. We wanted to organize as a community and be a forefront in finding ways on how to inform people, especially the Mexican Latino communities, about this danger, and also take action, see what we can do to actually make maize, native maize, criollo maize, accessible to our communities. I'm also part of Valley Verde, it's, where we provide materials, classes, support for people to grow their own gardens in their home, grow their own vegetables, all organic. Again, to bring that self-sufficiency of going back to our traditional ways of actually growing our food ourselves. I'd like to present my family. I really believe in the family unit, and I always represent myself first as a father. My biggest responsibility is taking care of my two sons, Marcielo and Nahuyo Celote, Luicatemo. They're my teachers. They're the ones, the bigger one here is the one that started me off, and my wife, because we brought a life into this world, and we had to be responsible, and he helped us make these changes in our lives. And our little one too, even sparked more up in our lives to be more passionate about working for the community. And my lifelong companion, the best companion in the world that I have. She's the mother half, my duality. We work together as a family, as a home unit. So we're here to honor our maize. We want to come with the perspective, not too much of the scientific or the political part of it, but the essence of maize, of what it means to us as a people. All of us have special food, that we treasure, that made us who we are. The rice, the corn, the wheat. So there's different foods that we are related to, and it's part of us. So it means a lot to us. So if you don't mind, we would like to start off with the song to honor our sacred maize. It becomes a part of us. So we want to, every time we speak of it, we try to be their voice, the voice of these seeds. And we ask for reverence, we ask for assistance, for guidance from our ancestors, and also to give honor, to remember these ancestors that actually, say these seeds for us. So I'm going to ask my duality if she can come up, and we're going to sing this. Okay. Again, just wanted also to present, this is a drum that was gifted to us. Again, beautiful, very blessed. My friend, Again, it has the maíz, the Defensa del Maíz. It has the corn, the woman who actually carries the sacredness of the corn. And so it's want to honor our corn.
I don't know who the original author of the song is, but it's a song that really touched us when we heard it, and it gives reverence to the corn. It thanks the Mother Earth for all the elements, which without that we wouldn't have the seed. And it also recognizes our connectedness to everything around us, and so it honors all those things, all those like things. Okay.
We consider ourselves los hijos del maíz, hijos y hijas del maíz, the children of the corn. Ever since the beginning of our creation and all these tales and myths and stories that we have of the ancient Mexico and this whole continent, it starts with the maíz. The maíz is the generator of life. These great civilizations we hear about, the Maya, the Olmecs, and all these great people from this whole continent, it's the maíz that pretty much sustained them. You know, we don't know what came first. They say there's a cross between the Dosintli and another grass, but there's these mysteries that we don't know about. We just don't know. They consider it the food of the gods because it was gifted to us by the gods. Again, it's something to think about. How far ago this maíz existed. They say 9,000-10,000 years ago, but it could be even further back. So it's a great mystery, and we honor it. And again, in the Popol Vuh, again, we noticed that we were made out of the dough of the maíz, and this is who we are. So we really, 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 really honor it. It's taught us how to be responsible, how to be caretakers with Mother Earth. This reciprocity where you give and they give back, but you have to continue this. It won't grow on its own. It needs our help, and we need the maíz for ourselves. It's also taught us how to not just grow maíz, but how to grow it into a milpa, bio-intensive type farming, which thousands of years ago in the Chinampas and even before that, where you can grow in a space complete protein diet, where you have the squash, you have the beans, you have amaranth, you have epazote, you have tomatillos, you have chiles, you have marigolds, the cempasúchil, and more and more. So you can feed yourself off a small piece of land. And it taught us that to grow together as companion planting. The bad thing is that our maíz, our sacred seeds, are being under attack. As we all know, some of us are experts here, that these bioengineer, biopirates are actually taking over, and they're stealing our seeds. They're stealing the land races from Mexico, from here, up north and south, and they're injecting it with venom, with these pesticides, herbicides, and genes from other animals, other organisms that don't belong in the maíz. Our ancestors knew how to actually do this breeding, and they did it righteously, and they did it right, not in laboratories with coats and shooting it up with a .22 caliber and forcing stuff into it. So it's very wrong what's happening, and one of the worstest thing is that these seeds, they don't grow. When we learned from Dr. Lopez, they're called terminator seeds. That takes away the whole culture, the heritage that we have of actually selecting the seeds. Selecting the seeds that we're going to grow, saving them. that's treasure. When we have a good seeds for our next crop, that's food, that's just subsistency. So this maíz actually contaminates other land races. They pollinate them and they destroy them. You know, Monsanto, Cargill, Doe, and all these other bio companies, they're patenting the seeds. They're patenting and they're actually considered their property. It's something that's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and they're making it their property. It crosses with other corn, and it becomes their property also. So it's very, very, very disastrous, I think, what's happening. This corn is tasteless. It's useless pretty much. But the thing I find is very, very disruptive is that it's mixing with the land racers, and it's actually destroying, And we see also that a lot of these campesinos there's no hope in them no more, growing maíz in Mexico or other parts, because of this U.S. corn. I wanted to ask a question. How many of you enjoy really fresh, hot, warm tortillas? Right. Tamales, good tamales, right? Atole, some of you guys know atole. Atole is like a drink that you make out of the corn. Really nice, good drink, pure and nice, full of carbs. But also, how many of you guys know if there's GMO corn in those tamales that you're eating, or the tortillas? Right? Most of it, right? And how many of you know where to get non-GMO, organic, authentic tamales, tortillas? Good, right? The bad thing is that this scentless GMO corn is in everything. We find it in mostly all of our products, even if it's not corn. I guess it's in Tylenol and all these stuff, all these other products where they put these additives of corn. And one of the worst things is that the Mexican, Latino population who eat corn products daily are the least aware of it. They're the least known. They don't know about this. They keep eating the corn and these problems that they have, allergies. A lot of the kids with allergies. There's a lot of obesity and diabetes. Also because of the high fructose corn syrup that they use from this GMO corn that's being put in all of our foods. And also, there's cancer, there's asthma, there's all these illnesses that are happening that we don't even know about. Like it's happening, you see the children suffering the most. I keep saying it's a slap in the face to all of us who eat tortillas daily. When we hear or they tell us, or the doctor tells us to only eat one tortilla a day, or none at all. Because of the diabetes, it's going to bring up the sugar, or because of your high blood cholesterol, or so on. I wonder, don't these doctors know that, most of our grandparents, abuelitos, before and till to this day, they nourish themselves with tortillas. Pretty much practically only tortillas, beans, and chile and salsa. And these are our grandparents, great-grandparents that are 80, 90, 100 years of age. Then they're walking up and down the hills, and they're still working. They're still taking care of their milpa. They're still taking care of their cows and their goats and so on. And making really strong people. So it doesn't make sense when they tell us, to not eat tortillas. But I think the problem is that these millions and millions and millions of tortillas that people are buying today from Guerrero, Gruma, Mission, and these other companies that are selling these GMOs. But Mission's even selling organic tortilla chips now. They want to provide something for us now. But these ingredients in these tortillas, you see that they're synthetic. There's dozens of ingredients that are completely synthetic. There's colors in them. There's all kinds of stuff in it that makes it really bad for us. So they have no nutrition and they have completely no life. There's no life in these tortillas. In history, in the past, once this maíz, when the Europeans came and they arrived, and this maíz became transcontinental, when it went to Europe and China and Africa, it completely changed their diet. People started growing corn more than wheat because it produces more calories per acre. There was famines going on in China and Africa, different parts of the world at that time, and because of the corn, it helped them survive. Helped bring up the population and actually keep them abroad. So we know that maíz, really genuine maíz, is nutritious. It's life. It's part of who we are. But so our message pretty much today is we have to take control. We have to take control of these sacred seeds. And we must take action now. And there's 3 things that I suggest that we need to do. You know, we need to save, exchange our seeds. We need to plant it, and we need to consume it. We keep it alive that way. You know, sometimes we wait around for politicians to actually label these foods that we already know they're GMO, and you know, and we don't consider it a victory or win until they label certain products that we know are already bad. But you know, we don't have to wait. You know, it takes too long. It'll take too long for these politicians to actually do something. We see that the Dark Act just got passed by Obama, and it's a big battle, which is great, and we can do that. But you know, our children, us, we need to eat now, and we need to keep that money alive today. So, with the inspiration of Dr. Lopez, you know, I was her student in 2003 at San Jose City College. And I already had been inspired again by the ancient teachers of Mexico and through Aztec dancing about the sacredness of corn. But, you know, the elements, but there was nothing being done about it. You know, I just thought it was just being revered. But she really brought a lot of light to me. I took her class and she was already writing her book, or she finished it, and talking about NAFTA, about how the campesinos are, it was in effect and they were the main targets. So since then, she ignited something very passionate, and since then, you know, I've been meeting my family and working with the community. We've been doing our best, but we can, to try to defend our sacred seeds in every way we can. The simplest way you find, the most smallest way you can do is eating, you know, growing your corn and then making yourself some tamales, or doing something, eating, you know, fresh corn at home. It's almost revolutionary. You know that, you know, you're taking control of your food. You're taking action. So again, I always give her thanks. You know, I always need to recognize her. If she wasn't here, she was part of my note. You know, we really appreciate everything we've done with her. We've done some work with her already. Where I think 8 years ago, she brought back about 10 pounds of maize in her suitcase. You know, and it was this maize from Jalisco, from where she goes. And she said, I'm bringing back some maize, and she had to carry, you know, all these 50 pounds of maize and stuff. So, but what we did is we wanted to distribute it. You know, that was our purpose, is to make sure that people had access to this. And we were introducing it to the Latino communities, Mexican communities, and saying, look here, you know, this is maize, this is what we need to eat. And you know, it's hard. It's very hard to convince somebody, to make them realize that something so simple as you could say, this a maize, you know, oh, it's nothing, you know, I'll go buy tortillas, it's nothing, it's going to be here forever. But we don't know that, you know, we're losing a lot. We're getting a lot of big blows, and we're there struggling, but it's very hard. You know, these big companies, these big transnational companies, corporations have a lot of money, they can manipulate, and you know, we have to be aware, you know, stay happy and continue the struggle that we have, you know, defending our seeds. You know, through the Defensa del Maíz, you know, we decided it's time to do something. So, you know, we have been able to access corn, blue corn from other sources, white corn, and we bought a mill, you know, molino, first by hand and then electric molino. And we said, that's it, you know, with our community, we're going to provide fresh masa, fresh organic masa, fresh tortillas, tamales, whatever we can. And our vision is to see that co-ops, you know, start springing up, where, you know, communities like the Defensa del Maíz can spread out and people can start growing their own corn. They can start actually, you know, doing their own corn with nixtamalizado, which is, you know, very traditional. We like to also do presentations and workshops. How, you know, we brought a miniature model here. But this is a metate. This is the, you know, very ancient way, volcanic rock. We have a bigger one, but, you know, grinding your own corn. You know, we've actually done workshops with children, and what surprises me and I love is boys. You know, actually young boys and teenager boys are there, and they're grinding their corn. You know, and they see the beauty of it, and they don't want to stop. You know, and you know, the little women also, and it's learning. You know, responsibility. It's learning our traditional way of eating, of working for our food. Responsibility again. So with that, we encourage everybody to keep fighting this good fight that we have. But you know, we got to fight it with love, with our heart, because they're not. The other side is, and we gotta still give them love. Hopefully they can change their mind, they can change their heart, and they can see the importance of what we are fighting for, what we're defending is our sacred maize. So with that, I also brought, this is hominy. This is white corn, organic corn that we made with the lime. It's hydrated lime, and it's called nixtamalizado. So it's here for taste. And also, we brought, this is, I wanted to share with all of you, this is our first mazorca, our first corn that we've harvested from our garden. This is today. And we can open it up. That's the beauty of growing corn, is that when you breed it, is you mix all these seeds up that you have. You've gotten seeds from Dr. Lopez that she brought years ago, and we've been breeding them, mixing them up. So every time you open up one of your mazorcas, it's like I don't know if everybody remembers, but the Cracker Jack boxes, where you get little prizes, you don't know what you're gonna get. So we'll find out right now for sure. So look, this is what we're gonna get. So this is a white one. So this is the beauty that we can actually grow. So this is what we live for, and this is what we want to share with you. Okay? Thank you very much.
Well, I had no idea I was going to be on a panel until I walked in this room. But anyway, it's fun to be here again. And as far as corn is concerned, I've been working in the west central Mexico countryside, studying corn and the transformation of farming systems in Mexico since NAFTA went into effect in 1994. Some of you may be aware that NAFTA reduced and eliminated all the tariffs that protected subsistence farmers in the past at the border. So corn, transgenic corn, hybrid corn, any kind of corn from the U.S. flooded the Mexican market and basically put the campesinos, who had a 9,000-year-old farming system in which they hand-selected corn in a sustainable farming practice, it forced them off their land, and that's why we have so many undocumented people in the country now. They basically, what happened is the government was unable to pay them any more than half of what they had in the past after NAFTA. They eliminated the CONASUPOS, which provided corn at a reduced rate for impoverished people in Mexico. It was kind of like Mexico's social security system. All of that was gone. And so I always tell people, for the campesinos, it was like you going to work on Monday and your boss telling you you can still work there 8 hours a day, but you'll only get half your salary. So, could you pay the rent? Could you buy clothes? Could you buy food, support children, whatever? And the answer to the campesinos was no, although I did meet campesinos who refused to leave their land. They're so completely tied to their land. It's like they refer to it in adjectives as if it was a person. And so some of them actually chose to stay there and die with their families and starve, which to me is very sad that you'd have to make such a horrible choice. And the others either moved to big cities looking for work, or they headed north to the U.S. And as I told the last group, my suspicion is that during the Cesar Chavez era, when farm workers were well organized and could negotiate with growers, I think the growers got sick and tired of that, and they wanted an undocumented class of people that they could treat basically like slaves that lived in constant fear. And they've got it. 75% now of farm workers in this state are undocumented from Mexico, and 83% in my county in Santa Cruz. So the families I work with are binational. They have relatives in Mexico, and there are part of the families here. and they can't go back to visit them. So I can't tell you the number of families I visited that have a family member who's sick in Mexico and they can't go visit him, or a dying parent or whatever. And as I told the last group, when I hear about family values, I get nauseous because there are none for farm workers at all. When I go to Mexico, since the population is binational, there is now a federal judge in 2013 passed a law that says that GMO corn can no longer be sold in Mexico because it's an imminent threat to the environment. So fortunately, thank you, Miguel. Fortunately, the sale of Monsanto's GMO corn at least has stopped, or purportedly stopped. However, at one point prior to this ruling, half the corn in Mexico was from the United States. Now, the reason that's dangerous is because Mexico is the corn repository for the world. After 9,000 years, and groups and tribes all over Mexico hand-selecting corn, there are corn genetics adapted to almost every imaginable environment. So anytime somebody has problems with their corn anywhere in the world, they come to Mexico, try to find a strain that they can cross with theirs that will stop the blight or the pest or whatever the issue is. And once that's done, we did it in this country in the 1970s with the southern corn blight. We're losing all those strains, which is madness in my opinion. We need the corn genetics of Mexico. So when you have half the corn in Mexico coming from this country, you can imagine the scale of the loss. Now, even though we're not selling genetically modified corn there anymore, there has been massive contamination of the traditional Maíz Criollo. There are fields only separated by a single wire fence, in which on one side there was GMO corn, on the other side Criollo, and corn pollen can fly at least 60 feet. So it's not hard to imagine the level of contamination involved. Now, we're starting, the Center for Farm Worker Families, since we work binationally, we are starting an agro-ecological project in the poorest village in the high mountains of Jalisco near Cuquillo, Jalisco. You can look it up on your computer. And there are 10 families who live in desperate poverty. However, they're so remote that there's no chance that this GMO corn could have reached their corn, and they're still farming the traditional way. They do have to be converted to organic because they have been using a nitrogen fertilizer called urea or urea, which isn't the worst at least, but they can't afford the pesticides, which is good. So it's as pristine probably as we're going to get, and we've got an international developer who's worked on these projects before, Colin Douglas, who's very interested in spearheading this project. And what we want to do is work with the farmers to convert to organic. The president of the town of Cuquillo has certifiers, organic certifiers, and he also exports. So it would be no problem exporting the organic corn once we can produce it to Sergio and Angelica in San Jose, and they can then distribute it to the Latino community who would purchase it for dollars, and that would raise that whole village in Mexico out of poverty. And they're so impoverished, to give you an idea, the day before I left, the Castellano Foundation sent me some money, and I took it to Mexico, and everybody in that village needed shoes. I mean, I don't know if you've seen in poor areas where the shoes have no soles. So I went into town and bought everybody in the village a pair of shoes. because I just felt bad for them, and obviously they needed it. So we have really good connections, and now all we need to do is find a granting institution that can pay the international developer, and he said he would charge us his lowest fee since they're such impoverished people. We want to pay them, and we want to pay the farmers, which would not amount to a whole lot, for any lost income as they transition away from using the urea to organic methods. So that's pretty much what we're doing. Any questions?
Maybe we can continue with
Oh, yeah, go
Maria
for it.
Catalan, and then at the end we can have some questions.
Okay.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Catalan, soy la fundadora de Catalan Family Farm en el condado de San Benito.
Okay. Good afternoon. I am Maria Catalan. My name is Maria Catalan. I am the founder of Catalan Family Farms in the San Benito County.
Más de 25 años siendo un pequeño agricultor orgánico y fui la primera mujer a nivel nacional latina que dejó de ser trabajadora del campo para ser dueña de su propia finca.
She has been for over 25 years farm worker, and she was the first Latina immigrant who became owner of her own farm. Because before all Latinos were working for other people, so she was the one who became independent.
Reconocida a nivel nacional por el Departamento de Agricultura de los Estados Unidos.
She is recognized by the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, as the first Latina and also certified organic. Right?
Fuimos los primeros, fui la primera agricultora latina que introdujo chiles jalapeños, tomatillo, flor de calabaza y nopales a los farmer markets de Berkeley, San Francisco y Oakland.
She was the first farmer who introduced jalapeño, tomatillo,
nopales y flor de
cactus,
Pápalos.
pumpkin flower, papalo, all these different varieties of plants that the other people didn't sell in the Bay Area, in Berkeley, San Francisco, Oakland.
Y desgraciadamente la madre naturaleza me quiso dar una muy buena lección. Teníamos 20 farmer market, 40 restaurantes y hace 3 años se colapsó el pozo, fuimos víctimas de la sequía.
Sadly, she has been a victim of Mother Earth because they used to have 40 farmers markets. No,
No, 20.
20 farmers markets,
A la semana.
20 every week, and also
40
40 restaurants where they deliver their food. And during the drought, the well that they have for water collapsed. So it's a problem.
Mi rancho es de 58 acres, quedó en nada, quedó sin producción, perdimos todo, los mercados. Este es mi segundo año tratando de certificar un pequeño rancho que estamos rentando de 14 acres y buscando ahora nuevamente mercados.
She used to have 59 acres, but they lost all the production and everything, and they are now trying to find markets and to rebuild their business. And they have now how many acres?
14.
40 acres where they are growing food now.
Nosotros estamos dentro de nuestro plan de siembra, siempre hemos incluido el maíz mexicano, el maíz azul y el rojo, el blanco, y yo hago nixtamal, hago tortillas. También tenemos un pequeño restaurante para procesar. Nosotros empezamos a vender las salsas enfrascadas en los farmer market, nopales enfrascados, tomatillo enfrascado. Era una pequeña empresa, mi negocio, a ese nivel quedó a nada. Ahora tenemos el restaurante y vamos a procesar.
So she has been always in her production. She always includes white corn, red corn, different native varieties, and they have been also processed in a restaurant that they have that is a commercial kitchen, different kind of cactus and can, and also they are canning tomatillo sauce and jalapeno sauce, and but now they are trying to rebuild everything that in the past they have because their business collapsed with the drought.
Ahora el plan, quizás vamos a tener que hacer un nuevo plan estratégico de mercadeo porque los farmer market están muy saturados, no hay posibilidad de entrar. Tenemos que buscar otro nivel de mercado. Y uno de los planes de mi familia para futuro es sembrar nuestro propio maíz y procesarlo, desde como para hacer tortillas, tamales, pozole, nosotros sopas vegetarianas congeladas, todo procesar.
So she says that after they lost the farmers markets and everything, now they are trying to find new ways to distribute their production of veggies and greens. And one of them is the CSA program. And also they are trying to grow corn precisely to make tamales, tortillas, and to distribute them in our community that is locally grown.
Es muy difícil sacar adelante un negocio que ha caído, pero tenemos grandes amigos como Miguel, como mucha gente de la comunidad que nos compra. Entonces, ese es el plan, seguir conservando nuestro maíz y no tanto por negocio, sino por sobrevivencia. O sea, si viene un catástrofe que no podamos conseguir cosas frescas, tenemos que aprender a secar, a procesar y a conservar nuestro propio maíz.
So she says that they have a lot of problems, but also they have a lot of support from different people from the community. And they really are very interested in growing their own corn, not only for profit, but also for as a surviving issue, because they know that if there is any catastrophe, if they really learn or relearn how to drive and save their corn, they won't have any problem with food scarcity.
Y dentro del plan de trabajo está enseñar a la comunidad cómo sembrar sus propias verduras, cómo cosechar, cómo conservar semillas, cómo procesar también para que la misma gente produzca su comida y conserve su producto.
Part of the plan that they have is to teach people, part of the community, how to grow their own food, how to save seeds, and
Pues también para procesar vamos a
and
enseñar a
also
procesar.
how they can tomatoes or tomatillo sauces. That is a workshop that they are preparing for people interested.
Ese es el plan.
That is the plan.
Ahora falta que la madre naturaleza nos deje.
Now they are are hoping that Mother Earth allow them to. So I think that is very interesting, this, because we can see from the U.S. the challenges of somebody who is trying to survive selling food in California, that is suffering the worst drought, and also we see the challenges here with farmers, but Lopez is talking about the challenge of farmers in Mexico, and I think something different that is totally connected is Sergio Netzahualcoyotl presentation about why they traditionally and in the holistic way have to have the commitment to save native varieties of corn. And what I was going to say is about Lopez, and we have to think also why we have reached this point, in Mexico and in the U.S. And when we talk about Mexico, we have to talk about the globalization, the green revolution, and how this green revolution has been expelling people from their land, how they have been displacing people to come to the U.S. to work in California, for example, as farmers. Many people that we know in California, they couldn't survive growing their food in Mexico or producing food, and they have to migrate to grow food for other people here. So what happened in Mexico is that with the globalization and all this stuff, after the NAFTA, the government, in the past they have more subsidies, and they have national public companies of seeds or organizations that were saving seeds and distributing this seeds among farmers. After the NAFTA, they took off all the resources, the subsidies for farmers, and now we see that these people cannot make money selling, because if companies buy corn from the U.S., it's going to be expensive than the corn that people can sell in Mexico, because in the U.S. you have a lot more subsidies. So that is one of the main problems, but the main goal of the government that is pushed by international, the IMF and the World Bank and all these organizations, is to displace the people so big corporations can come to grab the land and to develop monocrops and all these genetically modified soy or corn that are no food, are just ingredients for junk food, right? And are poisoning our people. And I think that it's very important to see the root cause of the problems that, for example, with Maria Catalan, what is the problem? She's trying to do the best thing that we can see in the food system in the US, that is produce organic food. And I remember that I was coming from New York 2 years ago on a train, and I started talking with this lady from Indonesia. She was a young girl, and I asked, so what are you doing here? And she said, I came for 2 months to work at Six Flags, and just an exchange of students, something like that. And I say, how do you like it? She said, I'm ready to go back to Indonesia. And I say, why? She said, there is no food here in this country. There is no food. Everyone eats sandwiches. And I cannot understand why meat is inexpensive than greens. I cannot understand why water is inexpensive than soda. And I say, it's very simple. It's just about the subsidies, how they are growing this meat with GMO corn that is subsidized by the government. But when you want to grow real food like greens or veggies, it's going to be super expensive for farmers, because the money that goes into agriculture is going to the big ag. It's not going to small farmers. They are not supporting organics or real food. They are supporting palatable that are mixed with sugars and salt that are killing our people. And those are super cheap. So, and I was explaining to her that why the water is expensive, a bottle of water in a store, than a soda. It's because both the soda and the water belong to the same company. That can be PepsiCo or whatever. And what they do, if they give you the water, you're going to satisfy your thirst. But if they sell inexpensive the soda, people is going to opt for soda that has very nice color, You're going to drink it, and you're going to need more, because it's going to make you give you more thirst, So they are poisoning the people. They are making them addict to soda, to sugar, to the hyperpalatable, and they are making a lot of money from this poisoning of our people. So it's very simple, and it's unethical the way the government is working with these corporations. And these corporations and this government are affecting farmers that are growing healthy food here or in Mexico. Because it's the same kind of policy that is implemented in both countries. So now how we can break this? Well, what I always say is that the problem that we have is not just an environmental pollution, but it's also a social pollution. And this social pollution is in advertisement. You know, when we send our kids to the grocery store, and the first thing that they see at the height of their eyes is gonna be soda and candy. So they're gonna grow and gonna become addicted to salt and sugar. So how we can change that? Well, first we have to create very strong campaigns. There are a couple of campaigns now going on in San Francisco. They are insisting with the soda tax. In Mexico, they won the soda tax 2 years ago, and Mexico was the champion in the world in soda consumption. And what happened in 1 year was from the consumption of soda in Mexico, the consumption of soda decreased 7% in 1 year because they put a tax on soda and junk food. But now the government, the Mexican government, is helping corporations with some exemption of taxes. So it's totally, they are always playing with these corporations. Maybe we cannot do anything, something against the corporations, but we can do something by educating our people. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that we have a problem in that educating our people, because many of the people who want to learn how to live better is until they reach a crisis. Until they reach a crisis, they say, the doctor told me that I cannot eat this or that, and then is when they are concerned about it. But how we can educate them since before they reach this diabetes or they are propense to these diseases. We can see now, for example, in San Francisco, 30 years ago, people who went to the general hospital, they went to the general hospital because they have problems related to AIDS. Now, 30 years after, you can see that was the 70% of people who went to the general hospital was for problems related to AIDS. Now, over 50% of people who go to the general hospital in San Francisco is for problems related to food, because they are consuming too much sugar, too much salt, you know. So what we have to do, we have to create very strong campaigns, but also we have to create campaigns to boycott all these companies that are poisoning our people. Because they are not just poisoning our people, but they are displacing people from small farms in Mexico. They are also competing with organic farmers like Maria Catalan in the valleys. So we really have to brainstorm and find a way locally in our own community, in our own house, and see how we're going to boycott all these corporations, you know. Because we cannot expect that somebody's going to come to organize a big march of 30,000 people. No, we have to do it every day from our own front and within our own network. We have to talk about this with everyone, because for many people to talk about food or the environmental issues is a taboo. What is going to say my brother if I start talking after meals about GMOs or environmental issues, don't drive your car? It's like a taboo, because sometimes we are too polite that we don't want to bother people, you know. But I think that we have to be very open to talk about all these issues with our co-workers, friends, family members, and see what is the reaction. What are you expecting for your children, you know? Do you want them to reach the same crisis that you have now in your health? You know, we've been teaching some classes of urban farming at the Yale track, and we have a group that is called the Hormigas Orgánicas. And before every presentation, we went around with their names and why they came and all this stuff. And I remember one of these times, I used to have a radio program, and with this radio program in Spanish, we invite them to come to learn. And in one of these presentations, the first person who introduced himself was Mauricio. He was 79 years old, but he was very strong and very active person. And then he said, you know, I am here because I am a survivor of cancer. The next person who came brought the sound system today. He gave a ride to the guy with the sound system, Don Jose. He said, I came here because I am a survivor of cancer. I am 65. And the third person was a younger lady, Rebecca. She said, I came here because I start having problems with diabetes, and I hear Miguel in the radio talking about food and all this stuff, and I start growing differently, and now I don't have any problem with diabetes, and I will never gonna eat food that is junk food or hyperpalatables or something that contains GMOs. I am eating just organic food. And I remember that 5 years ago, I was in Portland at a presentation, and a woman was talking as well about health issues. She was Latina, and she said that she was living in Fresno for a long time. And one day she started feeling one of her breasts growing. And then she was very worried that she had cancer or something like that. She went to the doctor, and the doctor asked her, so what do you do for work? She said, I work at a restaurant. And what do you eat? And she said, mostly I eat chicken because it's a chicken restaurant. She said, you know, you have to stop eating right now any kind of chicken because it contains a lot of growing hormones, and it's why your breast is growing. And she said that she stopped eating chicken and food that was not organic, and she came back to the normality, you know. So that's very important. How the people in the U.S., when we come from Mexico to the U.S., we are forgetting everything, included our food. Ann Lopez was talking about the diversity of corn that we have in Mexico. Many people don't know that the Mexican food is the only that is considered by United Nations a World Heritage. It's not the French food, not the Chinese food, the Mexican food. Why? You may think, why the Mexican food? Well, 3 years ago there was a festival of traditional food in the state of Michoacán. In this festival of traditional food, there were 30 women cooking 300 different local plates. 300 local plates, just for the state, from the state of Michoacán. 30 women cooking 300 different plates. Because, and when you go to Michoacán, you can think, tamales, well, they have corundas, they have uchepos, a lot of stuff made of corn that you will never taste in the U.S. When you go to Yucatan, in Yucatan, it's a different world from Mexico City or from Chiapas or from Michoacán. Each state has its own cuisine, and this cuisine is based usually in corn. And these meals has been adapted as well as corn to different weather and climates, and the ingredients that they are using are depending if it's a too cold place or it's too hot or it's in the mountains in the desert, because we have different requirements as a humans. You know, if I am living in the desert, I am not going to mix my corn with certain things that other people is mixing in the mountains. And they have learned this for thousands of years because they have been living there for many generations. So the Yaqui leader who was here, Mario Luna, today, he is not going to be, he has a totally different constitution from a Mayan person in Yucatan, because he's from the desert, from Sonora. So that is the problem. We come to the U.S., the first thing that I lost when I came to the U.S. was the sense of taste. I lost it because my mother was such a good cook that everything, she didn't put too much chili or something like that to get it spicy. The chili is just one more ingredient, and combine it with different ingredients, it's gonna give you one taste. When I went to the first Mexican restaurant in San Diego, I was very big with a lot of food, but was tasteless. So, and now I am used to that, you know. And that is the problem, that there are studies of people from Mexico, from children from the south and from the north. And the children whose parents or whose family is more exposed to the U.S., to all the media from the U.S., the advertisement, and also whose family has been living in the U.S. or have migrated, these children have more problems with obesity, overweight, than people in the south that are more indigenous and that their families have left the place. So this is everything has to do with our diet. Our food is going to be our medicine, and our medicine is going to be our food. And how we going to recover that tradition, how we going to go back into this, it's really hard living in the United States. In the United States, we have, as Latinos, we have very high rate of overweight, maybe more than white, you know, and what's going to be the way to change this pattern is educating. The formula, I don't know the formula. I haven't tried for many years, but I think the best formula is to start from ourselves and start talking with our inner circle, friends, co-workers, and start questioning what we eat and why we eat, you know? So, I don't know. I don't know if you have any question for them.
So what are the actions that we're all taking on this? There are different members of the audience who could do different things, but what are you all doing? And then what do you advise us to do? And then maybe we can adapt our own strategies.
Well, I was organizing a conference called Justice Begins with Seeds, and we brought somebody from Mexico whose name is Adelita San Vicente Tello, and we've been talking a couple of years about what we can do, and she went back to Mexico and she raised a class action lawsuit against the introduction of GMOs in Mexico, and they have stopped these permits in 2013. So still it's there, and we keep supporting them and working on that. And I personally, I was organizing the Festival of Corn in San Francisco before. Now I am not living in San Francisco. But what I have been trying to do is to learn more about my own culture, you know, things that I have forgotten, and to pass it on to other people that are Latinos, that are here, that are exposed to all this environmental pollution, social pollution, you know. So, I don't know about you. ¿Qué has hecho y qué invitas a la gente a hacer?
Bueno, yo creo que mi misión es producir el maíz. Quizás la misión del compañero es educar a la comunidad para que vayamos empezando a consumir nuestro propio maíz.
So her mission is to produce corn, native corn, organic corn, and maybe Sergio Netzahualcoyotl, his mission is to educate the community. But she says that she personally is to grow corn and to share it with other people.
Sí, y quiero mencionarles algo. Ahorita yo recordé que esa mazorca no es maíz, no es elote, es una mazorca, se le llama mazorca porque no está seca ni está tierna, y se puede hacer tortillas de esas sin usar cal ni hacerlo listabar. Se puede moler así, con un poco de sal, y se hacen las tortillas igual, y esas tortillas puedes comerlas frías. Tienen una textura suave.
You want to translate? You want to translate what she said?
Translate?
Sí, sí.
She said she just remembered that this isn't called a mazorca or elote because it's still fresh. But she remembers that there's you can make tortillas out of this without cooking it or adding any cal to it. And there are tortillas that you can eat them cold. So, you know, it's just, again, in different ways. There's even ways where you can make tamales without using cal, and they use ash. They use actually ashes from cedar or certain things. So, again, the hominy, when you add the lime to it, the hydrated lime, it's a science. It's a complete science. And the way they found out to do this and actually add the lime, and they also added seashells and some certain rocks that they would put to actually activate it. And it's one of the most healthiest ways you can eat maize is this way. So, yeah.
Yes. You know, many years ago I was living in Mexico City, and I had a girlfriend in that time, and we went selling music outside of the Mexican auditorium. There were a lot of concerts during the weekends, and I was selling music and books, and there was a lot of people selling music and books, and I didn't make much money, and I was always in a crisis. Then once I told her, you know, we have to sell esquites, elotes, asados, y cocidos. And then we started selling corn. And she didn't believe. She said, are you sure? And all my friends, this guy's crazy. The next week we came with an anafre, that is something to fry the corn. We came with boiling water to put corn, and with something that is like a soup of corn that is called esquites, and you sell it with lemon and salt and epazote in Chile. And what happened is that we sold out in half an hour. And there were lines of people, and we sold immediately everything. And so I am so grateful with corn, you know, because I was taking a lot of money selling corn in Mexico City. So,
well, I was just going to say this is not the hopeful aspect, but just to let you know how extensive our corporations are in the countryside of Mexico, where I have gone throughout Michoacan and Jalisco, in the most remote villages, there will be a refrigerator in somebody's mud hut, but a brand new refrigerator with Coca-Cola to sell. And 1 in 10 people in the countryside have diabetes that's undiagnosed, and they're too poor to get the diagnosis. So they continue to eat this stuff that has, 16 teaspoons of sugar per 8 ounces or something. And then those who have been tested and they found out they had diabetes start drinking Coke Zero. Because they're addicted, and they sell the good things, the healthy things from their farms to get the money to buy the Coke. It's just like a drug racket. It really is.
but you know, there is something else that I want to talk is about there is, we have to finish now, but we can have a wrap up. So I live in Portland, Oregon, and in Portland, Oregon, there is a company that is called Three Sisters. And they sell, they sell tortillas, but are made with, how you call the process?
Sopes,
No, the corn that is, I forgot now. No, when you process the fermented with calf. Como nixtamal. All their masa is nixtamal. So, and the nixtamal is different than the tortilla, the industrial tortilla from factories, because the nixtamal is they put how do you say lime. They add lime to ferment it overnight, and it releases all the vitamin 12 that corn actually has, but you have to ferment with lime overnight. So it's a process called nixtamal. And these people in Portland, they sell nixtamal, and I buy tortillas, I buy the masa, like 1 pound for $4, and I can make like 20 tortillas. With one of them, I have my tortilleria, my tortillera, see, like a press, and when I am doing my breakfast or whatever, I just make 3 or 4 tortillas, and it's very cheap, but it's crazy that I come to California, and you can only, as a Latino, you can only buy tortillas that are made in factories, are very bad. You don't know the origin of this corn. And in Portland, that is very wide. There are no Latinos. They can buy nixtamal. So that is that ridiculous, the system, you know.
Here you can buy nixtamal at one of the Berkeley farmers markets.
Ah, yes.
In La Palma too.
La Palma now, because I made a big campaign and I was pushing them and calling them that they have to sell organic corn, you know.
Wenatchee's too also. But can Dr. M say a few words about her work here in the U.S.?
We have to go actually. Can we have a wrap up? You were going to ask something, Pam?
Oh, I just want to mention there's a company also near Portland called Puralytics, and they sell water purifiers. They're very, very economical. So $80 to purify for a family of 4 for 1 year. And they sent them around the world, but they did a study. I can't remember the village or city in Mexico. But it was an area where a lot of people were drinking soda. That wasn't the point. They couldn't drink the water safely. So they got the water filters for them. They drank the water and they studied them for several months. And what they learned was people chose, in spite of the addictiveness of sugar, they chose to stop drinking the Coke because now they had good tasting water. And then they started to see drops in the diseases related to the Coca-Cola.
That's a very good, thank you. I want to learn more about it. Do you want to wrap up?
Just wanted to leave you with this note. This is from Sunu. He just
From
shows
the
it.
movie. That
See,
will show it.
when they asked what we can do, I wanted to bring this. This is from their website, but this is what they advise for us. It says, to save maíz is a life choice. It's not staying with the arms crossed. Stand up, rise a hand, and open your mouth.
Shut down the PC and open a book. Keep the mobile away while there's someone next to talk to. Someone next to you to talk to. Is coming out of the comfort zone and reaching for what is different. The most of the times is uncertain or unknown and ends up being extremely gratifying. To save something is to change the individual for the collective, the process for the organic, today for tomorrow, because only being natural will make us happy. To save is to remember and to keep alive that memory that grows, because that which is forgotten dies, and the one who forgets lacks a future. To save maíz is to save Mexico, preventing its seeds from dying, letting them grow and continue producing goods for the benefit of everyone who live and who will live in it. The one who saves automatically becomes a hero of their own community and the world, because demands the best at any given moment, because prefers a free and healthy life. Save maíz. Do it now.
Thank you so much.